All right, let's check in with Carmi Levy. He is our CTV tech analyst. He joins us every Thursday afternoon. Carmi, I wanted to start with this story because I was asking this of our listeners yesterday, this idea that Australia looking into this plan legislation, because that's what it would be at the end of the day if it actually does happen, of banning kids under the age of 16 from social media regardless of their parents' wishes. In other words, if it becomes law, that's the law. It's been talked about here, when I say here in Quebec and in Canada. In Quebec, it's about not having cell phones in schools and classrooms, but the idea has been broached before of simply saying, look, you know what, we're thinking about, we're going to see how this potentially plays out, of banning kids under 16. So how significant is this in Australia? Because obviously there's some hurdles to have to clear, but is this a template for other places if it works?
It could very well be. Australia has always been somewhat progressive in terms of introducing new tech-centric legislation, and then the rest of the world kind of follows their lead, and that seems to be the case here as well. They're calling this world-leading legislation. All parties have agreed, so it's a non-partisan thing. Everyone believes and recognizes that social media is harming kids. It's a threat to their mental health, and something drastic needs to be done. And so this ban, any kid under the age of 16, there are no workarounds. In other words, you can't get permission from mom and dad. You're not grandfathered. This is the most comprehensive such ban proposed anywhere in the world. And of course, countries like Canada are watching that experience as this law moves through the process and as it becomes enacted, likely next year. Whether Canada should be following suit. We know that in Quebec, François Legault earlier this year said that he's open to the idea of a ban. We haven't seen anything official since then, but I'm willing to bet he's watching this really closely. And certainly in the wake of the smartphone bans in just about every province, including Quebec, across the country, we know full well that there's this growing wave of recognition that all of this mobile technology is bad for our kids. And we're starting to see pushback. We're seeing lawsuits against big social from school boards, primarily in Ontario. And we are seeing this sort of growing push to make these companies more accountable. And that could include pretty draconian-looking laws like this. And I think even though it might be difficult to sort of logistically manage such a ban across an entire country, the very fact that they're being proposed finally signals, draws a line in the sand. We've been using these technologies for a couple of decades. They're not good for our kids. We got to do something, even if it seems somewhat drastic.
With respect to how they could actually pull this off, and I mentioned when we did the story, they're talking about facial recognition or government-issued IDs. Do you think that's workable?
No, not at all. I think the logistics, the amount of technology and bureaucracy and oversight that would be needed to pull this off on the scale of an entire country, certainly one as large as Australia, just not going to happen. And of course, think about who the audience is here. These are kids. I've raised 3 of them. They're really smart. They will figure out ways around it. No government is going to outsmart a kid who wants to use social media on their smartphone. No parent who has ever tried to ban their kids from using these technologies. Parents know this as well, that they will find a way around it. And certainly on the scale of a country, it's just not going to happen. It'll leak from every pore imaginable. However, just the fact that it's being proposed, I think, recognizes that this needs to be a priority. So even if the law fails spectacularly, it doesn't matter. It's gotten everybody talking about it. It's put big tech companies on notice. And it's got parents involved in a conversation that they probably wish they hadn't been involved in from the start. It finally pulls them in. So I think this is a good thing, but maybe not for the reasons that the legislators would have imagined when they first proposed it.
Okay, that's what I figured. Kids are too smart; they'll figure this out no matter what you put in place. So, but anyway, like you're right. At least it's a step. Well, it seems to be a step in the right direction. Let's hope for that anyway. All right.
Right on.
Want to move on to this second story, which I've heard nothing about, which concerns this idea of hackers are targeting people who type these 6 words into their PC. Please explain.
So this is a new term. It's called SEO poisoning, and SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's the process by which, and companies use this all the time to make sure that when you search for something that matters to them, their website sort of rises to the top of the list of links that you get back when you search for things in Google. Google, of course, being the way we find things online, you use SEO to make sure that you win that battle. And so hackers are getting involved here. Sophos, the cybersecurity company, is warning they're using it not to sell you stuff that you want or maybe don't want, but they're using it also to get you to click on links that you probably shouldn't. So in Australia, people are typing in the term, "Are Bengal cats legal in Australia?" a 6-word search term, and then the links that come back from it are malicious. They're not regular websites. They might be ransomware. They might be malware. They might steal your personal information. The key here is don't click on them. That way you won't be taken to them. And apparently this is focusing on Australia now, but of course it highlights this new kind of SEO poisoning attack. It could be used anywhere, and security companies around the world are putting people on notice. Keep your eye open for viral things like this. If you see something, say in TikTok or on YouTube or on other social media platforms, hey, search for this and see what you find. That should be your first clue that someone probably wants you to click on a malicious link. That's the point when you should back away and maybe go do something else.
Oh, my God. Okay. Let me move from that to talk about AI. I said, it's becoming a bigger and bigger part. It certainly is for me every day, right? I find using ChatGPT or something like that, it's become, I don't even go to Google anymore, honestly, because it's just so much better, so much more efficient on ChatGPT. But now we have to be warned of the dangers of AI. What dangers?
I mean, the dangers of AI is that it could lie to you. So, for example, when you ask ChatGPT a question and it gives you an answer, sometimes that answer is wrong because the way the technology works, it often trains on data that it found on the open internet, but we all know full well not everything you find on the internet is legit. And so the federal government has launched something that it's called the Canadian Artificial Intelligence Safety Institute, and it's a body. They're putting $50 million into it that is designed to highlight best practices to ensure that we use AI safely and that we don't listen to the lies, and that when we do see lies, that we are able to work around them. They're going to work with other international institutes, other countries around the world, including the U.S., are setting up their own such institutes, and they're going to be talking to each other to make sure that what we learn in Canada, for example, we know full well, Montreal is home to MILA, which is one of the world's leading AI research institutes, that what we learn here about AI safety gets shared around the world so that everyone is as safe as possible to take advantage of the possibilities of the technology without falling risks to the sort of the dark side of it. Share best practices. That's always been the case with technology.
Yeah.
It's especially important with AI.
I had to remind AI the other day, I was searching, I'm big on one-hit wonder stuff music-wise. I asked about a guy named Norman Greenbaum who had a hit back in the 70s called Spirit in the Sky.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I asked, for a list of one-hit wonders, and it gave me that, and I reminded AI that he also had a song called Canned Ham, which was a hit. It charted, and it apologized to me. Said I was right and sorry.
Polite AI.
I love AI even more. Carmi Levy, our CTV tech analyst. Carmi, thanks so much.